Radamiz, welcome to Masters of Ceremony, brother.
Yo, thank you, man. I'm grateful to be here, bro. And I'm proud of you for enacting this.
Oh, man.
Very dope.
Thank you, brother. It's an honor to have you on this show. It's been some time working on it, and you were one of the first guests I wanted to bring up here.
Yeah, no, I think it's pivotal that you do it just as like an artist of like multiple disciplines. Also, you know, I think a lot of the times you don't always want to over-explain your work about your work. You rather just have that to be for like a separate platform. Like for me, I don't know, people always tell me like I gotta do more rants and stuff on like social media and just like talking, but I don't always feel as genuine. I feel like it's better when you just do it in an interview and you can just talk. And I think with you, you know, I wish people would read all the time, but that's just not how people ingest information. And you can only share so much about your perspective on life and the whys and the what's behind things. So this is like important for you, for your art, obviously, and like, you know, to just expand what your world is. So this is a big step.
Definitely, man. I appreciate it. Yeah, man. I just want to start basically, from the jump, from your early upbringing. And I would love for you to kind of give us some insight into just how you were raised, man, in Brooklyn, in your building.
Yeah, I grew up in Southside, like in Williamsburg, I guess, first, off like the Grand Street, L train. And I was there for like a couple years. Like I have memories from like living there still.
Yeah.
Like I remember being in the bouncy houses and all that shit. Like, you know, the rollers that you have to stand like while you're learning to walk. Like I remember that. And I remember the first day we moved into like Best Eye. I remember going to the rooms and everything being empty, and me and my sister went into like our bedroom and I was like hanging off the closet rail. You know what I mean? Like where you hang your shirts. Like I remember nothing being there.
What ages were that?
I was probably like 5 years old or something like that, 4 or 5 years old. And man, yeah, I grew up. I mean, I think my parents always did their best to like cloak us from the negativity that just like surrounded us, just off of like where we lived and where we were raised and like their experiences as well. Like they grew up, you know, my father was raised in bodegas, you know what I'm saying? Like predominantly that's like where he worked. And bodegas in the 80s and 90s, you know what I'm saying? Like, and he worked all over, like East New York, Bed-Stuy, whatever the case may be. People getting murdered and shit, like, you know. So it's like, I feel like they kept us protected from a lot of that, you know. But our crib was like loving, you know what I mean? There was always some extra family living with us. I mean, it's still project life, you know. And it's still like in the 90s immigrant families. So like, you know, you sticking together and figuring it out, but you know.
And as a child, were you around that age, 5, 6, were you aware of kind of what was going on in the neighborhood, or were you completely shielded and guarded from?
To a certain extent, yeah, because I mean, I still like the public school that I went to was up the block, you know, that's first grade.
Yeah.
You're aware of your neighborhoods. You're aware of like people trying to break into your doors when you're sleeping. You're aware of like gunshots and seeing dead bodies. You know what I mean? Like and police, and you know, I used to get stopped by the cops young. You know what I mean? Like just
just for
sad
like and crazy.
Yeah, just for like visiting my friend on the 3rd floor and like coming up the back staircase, you know what I'm saying? Like get stopped by the cops in the staircases and all that shit. So like, I remember the first time I got stopped by the cops, I was like talking, like my mom, we were talking about it, and she was just kind of like letting me know that had nothing to do with me, but just like where we were from, and you know. But yeah, no, I was definitely aware, but there was definitely still a barrier because they had their eye over me.
Yeah. Wow. So, man, that makes me think about so many other things I want to ask you, because although I've known you for some time now, I think it's been about 6 years.
Yeah, it's been a minute.
Yeah, yeah. Wow, it's crazy to think about. It doesn't feel like it's been that long. Although I've known you for that long, I'm still getting to know you every day, especially through your music. I mean, because your music is such a personal endeavor for you. It's not only an outlet of your expression of, you know, what you're feeling at the time, which it is, but it's not only that. It
Yeah.
also really tells people where you're from. So why I wanted to start with that initial question of speaking about your upbringing a bit, because you can hear it in the music so much. And just from you expressing all of that to me, it makes a lot of sense when I listen to your music, why it is the way it is. I can hear that your upbringing, your location of where you grew up, the streets, your experiences, all have shaped you into who you are today.
Yeah.
And I'm just curious still around that age, you know, maybe later on in years 8, 9, 10, 11, as you start to become a teenager.
Yeah.
What was going on in your environment and also in hip hop that really sparked your interest into, okay, let me, you know, maybe start writing something, whether it's poetry or if it always was to be a hip hop artist? Let us know.
Yeah, I mean, I think for a minute, one of the things that I try to like depict when it comes to my upbringing, when it comes to my childhood and like describing it in my music as a whole, not just like line by line every time, but I try to like, it's the good and the bad, you know what I mean? Like, I have this one line on the Star Children record that I did with Shadow where I like, you know, it was rough in BK younger days, but I smiled surplus. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
like, yo,
crazy.
like, it ain't about glorifying just the negative parts and, yo, my childhood was tougher than yours, or I seen things that were worse than you. Like, that's not something worth competing over, or like, you know, you don't get more glory points for having a harder childhood, you know what I'm saying, than someone else. I think for me, it's more so about trying to tell the full picture as much as possible. And I think, I mean, I grew up and I always knew I wanted to be an artist, but it was more so on the visual tip. I was always
painting?
painting,
Okay.
yeah. And I mean, I was always, I remember seeing, you know, videos of me bugging out to like live bands and shit like that when I was like 1 year old. And I always had instruments around my crib. Like there was always guitars around or accordions, you know, that's a Dominican instrument, like an accordion. So like I always had an accordion growing up.
Wow.
Always had like the baby drums, like the tamboras. I just like the baby drums. Yeah, music was always around. My father used to play music. We have cousins who like played, and so music was always a part of it. I always knew I wanted to be an artist, counted myself out very early. But I think by the time I got to my early teens, like 11, 12, or whatever the case may be, I guess that's when you start not only like having some kind of formation in your mind about who you are, but your life starts shaping up a little bit more social wise. Like you're in middle school now, and you know, I have a job at this point. Like I'm like packing bags at the grocery, at the supermarkets and shit. So I have a little bit more decision making when it comes to my clothes, because I can just go buy them myself, or my sneakers, even if I'm only spending $30 anyway on sneakers, because we ain't got it like that yet.
Yeah.
Like, but you know, I remember like changing a full pocket full of just dimes and quarters at the end of the day and saving up and stacking, like, you know, so you start making decisions for yourself as opposed to just information being given to you. And naturally just being around Bed-Stuy and Bushwick, that's just like hip hop was just part of it. And I honestly can't recall if anybody around me necessarily inspired me. Like, I don't remember seeing like an older cousin who did it, or somebody on the block, or I saw a battle and was like, oh, what's that? Like, now honestly, I mean, passively, I always listened to music. I was listening to Reasonable Doubt in 6th grade and a bunch of other shit. I guess I was just bored one summer. You know what I mean? Honestly, I think I was just bored one summer, but I knew to a certain extent, like I was a young kid, but I definitely knew, and I guess everybody says it, but it's true, I felt like a misfit. Like I was on some nerd shit. Like I played Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh! And I still love all that shit. You know, it's part of your childhood.
Yeah, man.
But it's like I wasn't scared to talk to girls though. You know what I'm saying? And like I played ball, but I wasn't nice enough to get picked for the real game. Like, you know, like before school started, like the 5-on-5 of all the real players, like I wasn't on that game. You know what I mean? That's not the game I got picked for. And You know, I had some kind of fashion sensibility, but my parents were buying me Jordans and Tims and fresh ups. Like I had to go get the bootleg joints, and you know, I used to wear my ups to the that shit I used to super glue the bottom of my soles, and so I wasn't the most fashionable kid either. Nothing. I was never like I was in a lot of the circles. I was the kid that was at all the lunch tables, but I was never like, I never felt like I fit somewhere else, somewhere specifically, you know? And I think music was like an opportunity for me to say something for myself.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I'm sure, especially because at that time, and I mean, in hip hop in general, you see so many different styles within this one art form. So as someone who it maybe feels like they're a misfit, it makes sense that you saw music as a sense and an opportunity to express yourself how you wanted to.
Yeah, I mean, you know, as a young kid, like I remember the documentary coming out in 2005. Like I remember people coming in like that morning, like, yo, I got the documentary. I remember Speaker Box Love Below coming out, and kids in the lunchrooms, like with the real CD, like the official joint. You know what I'm saying?
Going
like,
home, seeing the videos, all that.
Yeah, you know, like when the blackout happened in New York, I think it was 2003 or whenever it was. Like I remember I was watching Frontin' by Pharrell and Jay. You know what I'm saying? And I'm like, oh, that's cool. Like that's what cool means.
Yeah.
You know, and yeah, I guess I just never had that. And then obviously like in Best Eye too, like, I mean, I have some street sensibility, meaning like I know who's in this gang, who's in that gang. I know what's disrespect. I know what's just tough love. I know,
you're not naive.
And I learned it in the basketball court. You know what I'm saying? So like growing up, I played ball every morning, you know what I'm saying? It's more specifically in the summers. Like, I feel like in the fall, I was more so with my friends and like hanging around. But in the summer times, it was like every day, basically, you know? So that's how I got acquainted with like my neighborhood for real, like playing ball and just going up to all the different courts and whatever the case may be. And that's where I learned like more street shit. But at the same time, I wasn't like leaving the court to go jump somebody or now we got to go post up here and you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And, yeah, man, I think music's made music to me, the fact that I could rap and sneak in a punchline or two here and there made this odd fit, this misfit Radamiz like make sense more, you know, in the surroundings that I had.
That's beautiful, man. And you're an artist who has videos still, if people dig deep enough, of you rapping early, you know, young. And I'm just curious, man, because we all go through it when we're learning a certain craft. You go through the stage of either flat out being whack or just finding your way. And in that process, we see so many people give up. So what really pushed you? How did you find the courage and the strength to realize like, yo, this is what I want to do, but I kind of know I'm not where I'm at, where I want to be at right now. You know,
I think it's always been a measure of me against myself. Like I remember vividly the first times I started rapping, like how I would tell somebody that I rapped was I would show them my notebook and have them read my raps. You know what I mean?
Spit for them?
No, I wouldn't do it. Like I remember my boy Miguel. He probably still remembers. I don't know if he'll ever watch this, but like I remember one of my homies, Miguel and Philippa Schuyler. Like that's the thing. A lot of people from my middle school, thankfully, are like still tapped in. So like there are people who you could talk to that are like
who've seen the growth
from day one, because that's when I started, like 6th grade going to 7th grade. You know what I'm saying? But I remember vividly, like, just showing my raps to people and I remember incrementally, like, I became one of the main rappers in middle school, like, just in the span of, like, a grade. You know what I mean? Like, I was like, oh, okay, wait. I've never been looked at as, like I remember the battles happening and me telling people to bet they bread and, you know what I'm saying? And me winning the money, you know what I mean? And other people, like, battling. And this is 7th, 8th grade, like, other people battling. And it's like, it's not like they want the smoke with Radamiz, like not as easy as they want that smoke. You know what I'm saying? Like, if anything, they wanted to like work with me and like fuck with me. I pressed up my first mixtapes in middle school. Like, it was called All About the Benjamins. You know what I mean? Like, and that was me and my man Gio just recording in front of a computer over like just rip beats on the internet, like just like Dipset, get them daddy beats and shit like that. Like, but a lot of it was just measuring it against myself, like starting from just showing somebody my raps to being able to memorize a rap to being able to just spit a verse on the spot to being able to battle and just like have lines in the back of my head.
Necessary steps.
And bit by bit, just having confidence to just turn it on.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like my second rap was better than my first. And I remember that more than my first rap.
Yeah.
Like I know my first rap was like half of a Jadakiss rap, but I remember my second rap being better. And I remember my third being better than that. And I could probably still show you like rhyme books somewhere in the crib, like old ones. Like, because it was just more so battle raps back then. It wasn't like I was necessarily describing my surroundings like with some kind of like foresight or like, you know, intellectual base perspective. But you know, it was more. It was just that like I could measure myself with this, and life responded to me in that way, in a positive, in a reaffirming way, like just like a little bit of a social ladder climb, just off of being a little bit better than the other kid. You know?
So you had other MCs in your school and in your surroundings, and eventually you befriended some of these MCs. Yeah. Correct.
Yeah, I mean, what I'm talking about is middle school, but then when you go to high school, that's where I meet. As you got older, that's where I meet Mad Wiz. That's when next year I meet History and King Critical and all of these people.
Yeah, dope, man. Okay, I want to circle back to something else, which is such a defining quality of you, and I think that's your awareness of the importance of having some type of belief system or spirituality. And the reason why I want to focus on this right now is because I think it relates directly to your hip hop and to who you are just as a man. So I'm just curious, you know, around the same age, you know, when you're in middle school and you're making progress as an artist, what is it that's going on at home, or your connection to being Dominican and traveling back and forth to the DR that's teaching you things about spirituality and just being in touch with yourself and with your people and where you're from, and what was going on in the household? Because when I look at someone like you who is spiritually aware and conscious in a sense of, I know I'm creating something that is coming from beyond me. I know that it didn't just happen by accident, and that there was something in the environment that fostered this type of interest.
Yeah, I think it's a process, you know. I mean, obviously, not obvious, but I was raised Catholic, so you have that as like an entry point right away. Just going to church every Sunday, falling asleep in church. Honestly, when you're really young, like you just
I know it, man.
Lay on your mom's lap at some point, and I remember the first time like I realized what death was, and that was I remember it to this day, like just crying, you know what I mean? Just crying because I thought about my mom dying. That's the first time I like really thought about death, and then I thought about myself dying and whatever. And I remember crying out to my mom, like, yo, I was just wailing really loud, bro. Like, I must have been like 7 or 8 or something like that. And my mom just assuring me like, it's okay, it's part of the process. I remember the feeling right now of like not understanding why death is like necessary.
I went through a very similar experience.
For sure. Yeah. And then, you know, I remember like, I think I've told you personally, like the first time I ever meditated was by accident because I thought I was gonna die. Yeah. Because I thought my sister had like poisoned my food, just some silly shit. But it was it wasn't until later on that I realized, like, for me, I think that was the difference between my religious experience and like my spiritual understanding, you know, my understanding of like self. Because even though the scenario of it, my sister makes fun of me all the time for like having believed it, but the fact that triggered meditation, because what it led me to do was face death, honestly, at like 10 years old. Like I was young. Like I remember not being in high school. I remember not having had sex with a girl, nothing, you know what I mean? And meditating on everything that I would miss out of life. And I was just at peace. And I feel like I haven't felt more peace than that in my life since. You know what I'm saying? Like I haven't just whole acceptance of whatever is. And that was monumental, you know? But yeah, I mean, outside of that, like going to, I did my communion and everything. So like I went to Sunday school, everything. So there was always like a lot of like the actual church going every single Sunday. My God family is like my close family here in like New York. So like they always had like priests and pastors over on Sundays. So like I would see, you know, the pastor like preach and then see him later at 5 o'clock at the crib having dinner and blessing the food for us. Or like for Thanksgiving and Christmas to this day, honestly, like still priests come over to the crib all the time. And my God family has like a big influence on that as well. Like, I don't know, I come from a super church faith believing family. You know, they believe heavily in Jesus. They believe heavily in like the Christian religion, the Christian faith, but especially back in DR, but obviously like in here as well, just like practices that deal with understanding the vital resources that the earth provides and knowing to respect natural law and knowing to respect herbs and intentions that you place on actions and, you know, just respecting the earth. You know what I mean? Like there's a different level. Like there's religion, but there's another spiritual aspect to it that through being a human being and what's around you, you can enact.
Yeah, and it almost transcends whatever the container of the religion is to something to just direct to the spirit.
Well, yeah, because people you can call on you can use the word God and Jesus and these angels in a negative way. You know what I'm saying? And,
of course.
And
yeah, man. Wow. You know, I had the pleasure, the honor to travel to DR with you and kind of get deeper insight into some of these things you're speaking about, which mirror my upbringing as well. You know, having a Jamaican mother and a Iranian father. How was it, man? You know, taking trips to DR from a young age, knowing that, you know, you're living in the projects in Brooklyn, but then you got this whole other universe down on a beautiful island with cousins and aunts and uncles and a whole nother experience there. How did that shape you as well?
It was a trip because I didn't find many people to relate to my experience. Not necessarily for the sake of like, it's like being in the projects is one thing, being in Brooklyn is one thing, being in Bed-Stuy is one thing, being Dominican is one thing, being surrounded by at least 50% black people. So it's not like you're necessarily having full conversations with people who get you. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like, it's like my black friends can accept me and love me. Like, I'm black too, but you know what I mean? Like,
of course.
But it's like not having nobody, you can't come back and talk to, like, and they understand what you're talking about. Like, and then going to the Campos in DR, you know, it was a trip, man. I mean, I feel like I grew up very aware of like agricultural life. I grew up very aware of making the most with the least.
Yes.
I grew up very aware of the importance of having like a tight-knit family and just, you know, getting bit the fuck up by mosquitoes and being burnt by the sun and getting cut on like wires because you're like running up hills, you know what I'm saying? And
very opposite lifestyle to the concrete jungle of
extremely.
Brooklyn.
And I feel like the biggest thing that it always showed me was just it's a big world out there. You know what I mean? And I knew that my friends here didn't know this world here, and my family here didn't know the world here. And there must be a whole other world that I don't know about too. Yeah. So I think even though I was, and still am, I guess, predominantly stuck in like, you know, it's like most of my time is spent in New York, and if I travel, it's usually been mostly to DR. But I never let those settings limit my horizons. You know what I mean? I never let that establish like this is all that life is, because from very early on I knew that there was multiple worlds. You know?
Yeah, man. Wow. Yeah, it was such.
And on a spiritual level, it's just practice so much more given. Like I guess it's a testament to the country. Like I believe DR is 95% Catholic or something like that. So where here it's more of a taboo, like in the States, to speak about faith or religion or mention God or Jesus or spiritual practices is like givens.
Yeah.
Over there, that's how it is.
Yeah, and even in DR, it's very similar to other places in the Caribbean where it's almost mixed with the ancient indigenous practices as well of, you know, certain rituals that kind of go beyond just Catholic understanding. And
you also don't have the pretense of whether you're gonna offend somebody, honestly.
Yeah.
Like you're not like, and I feel like that has shaped me to find my way of speaking about God in my music, where if I speak with like spiritual content or whatever the case may be, I think it's alleviated like a pretentious feeling it normally carries, or a more knowledgeable than, because I was raised on one side, it's a given, so you speak about it naturally anyway. But then on the other side here, it's like, well, you have to also learn how to speak about it so someone else can understand you and know that you're not offending somebody else, and know that you take their perspective into your consideration as well as just as true as your perspective. You know what I mean? So it's like it married both. Like, because in DR, like, it's nothing for you to talk about witches or talk about spirits or talk about, like, I have a cousin who supposedly, like, as soon as he learned to walk at 1, was adopted by people under earth.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I've heard some of these stories, man.
And to this day travels that way, and you can find him. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's like a real person. And, you know, and voodoo and all of this, like, none of that is spoken about like it's not real.
It's not
It's
foreign.
spoken about it like fact.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And yeah, man, I guess it grounded me in open-mindedness, but also just like the capacity of like being a human. And
it's so similar in Jamaica. I remember my mother told me a story about, and I was thinking about this actually when I was in DR with you, because just this normal acceptance of other realms and other things that are beyond maybe most Westerners' mindsets. But my mother told me the story about when she was young. She was in the street somewhere in Jamaica. You know, my mom grew up in the countryside in Jamaica. And there was this dog in the street. And I don't know if the dog was crying or what, but something attracted her to this dog. And she just felt compelled to like pick the dog up. It was like a little puppy or something. And her hands went straight through the dog. Ooh. And all these men at like the corner store behind her were hysterically laughing, just laughing. And she looks and they go, "Oh, you don't know the duppy dog? Because in Jamaica they call ghosts or spirits duppies." Yeah. And they were laughing that my mom had never come in contact with this ghost dog before, as if it's so normal. Yeah. So common.
That's how it was when I went to Grenada. It's the same thing. Like like animals that are just not really animals.
Yeah.
Ghosts.
Yeah. We spoke about that with the goats in DR.
Bro. Yeah. Well, in DR it's a lot of like transforming, like witches that just transform into animals.
Yeah. And it's I think you have a special skill in translating some of your spiritual beliefs and experiences in a more digestible manner, because you had a lifestyle and understanding like that in DR, but also, you know, the street smarts, very pragmatic, analytical side of just you growing up in Brooklyn. Yeah. And I feel like that comes through in your music. I feel like people who really connect with a lot of your songs and albums understand that you're giving a balanced perspective, whether you're not only speaking to people who grew up in the projects, although you're speaking to those people, you're speaking to kids who were maybe growing up in rich neighborhoods in Colorado or something as well, because you're speaking to the human experience. Yeah. I think the first time I came across your music, I don't know what song it was.
And I don't think it was always like that either. I think that this is like a recent years, because I'm more gathered and I'm more aware of like my purpose and my path, you know.
Well, I came across your music early before I met you, and somewhere I either downloaded a song or somewhere where you described your music, but I think I had a file of the song. You know how on iTunes you can go to the genre and see, and it said travel music.
Travel hip hop.
Yeah. Travel hip hop or travel music? Hip-hop, travel hip hop. And I remember saying, what does that even mean? Yeah. And then I think I read an interview or something, and speak on that a bit of why you were kind of genrifying your music
because that
at
still
age.
Exists in my name, like in my email. You know, that's part of like what it is. I wasn't gonna say it, but yeah. That's when you start getting, bro. I have so many beats from people that I did not ask for beats from. But nonetheless, even before, because there's definitely elements of all of this from my first tapes. I'm sure even from All About the Benjamins. You know what I'm saying? Like my 8th grade mixtape, who some people still have. But even from me and Wiz's first tape, a bunch of songs all the way through. But I always had a sense that I guess my music was not supposed to be for one audience intentionally, but it's like I love the point of pop music, right? Like pop music is intended to just be enjoyable on a universal level, right? Yeah. But pop also just means famous, and pop also just means popular, obviously. Yes. So like the derivative of that's popular. So like, but I've always been interested in like how a specific perspective can be so like Snoop Dogg is like a world brand, like a 50 Cent is like a world brand, like a Kendrick Lamar, a J. Cole, so many hip hop, Kanye West. Like to me, there's so many examples of artists that are very specific about where they're from, their identity, their motives, their world, their upbringing, and how they see the future through the songs that they release that can be connected to worldwide. And these people have never been to their homes, never met these gangs, never met, you know what I mean? Never seen the person die, never seen the drug deal, never seen the bootleg shop. And I guess early on, I was just aware of that. You know what I'm saying? And I think around the time where I monikered that name, I was like pumping like Mos Def, Traveling Man, you know what I'm saying? Like crazy. I don't know. I think I may have used travel hip hop before, but I remember I think I used travel hip hop first, but then I remember running into like Traveling Man with Mos Def, and I was like, see, he gets it. I remember that, like, yo, he gets it. You know what I mean? Like, and Mos Def, that's part of the reason why he's one of like my favorite artists, because I think he moves as like a gathered art, like a worldly gathered artist. You know what I mean? Like his eyes and his words have moved around. Yeah. So when you speak, it's like you've seen life, you've met people, you've talked, you know? And I just always seen that as like the illest attribute to music. Like my music is more accessible than me, you know? And so it's my job to, at least I feel it's my job and it's my responsibility that if you meet me via these songs, that I'm as in there as much as possible, because that's the most we're ever going. That's the most the majority of people are ever going to be able to experience me through. You know what music. I mean? And I think that and I want people from Cairo to feel seen. I want people from Compton to feel seen. I want people from DR to feel seen. I want people from Russia and Germany and Zimbabwe to feel like they met me, because I want to meet you. You know what I mean? And I think that that's why that's why I like latched on the travel hip hop thing, because I always looked at my music as like world music, not as like just for my block, you know.
Global, man. That's deep, and it's very telling of your vision to not pigeonhole yourself into, you know.
But then be specific enough where you know I'm real.
Yes.
Because that's my thing. It's not like.
You're not just casting a wide net.
I'm not into like so make it, then you gotta win, and then you gotta live. Like,
no, you're name dropping people from your hood.
Yeah, like I'm mentioning streets, I'm mentioning brands, I'm mentioning people, I'm mentioning incidents, I mention whatever. I'm gonna let you know it's me you're meeting. It's not like you're just meeting a person from New York. Like, no, you're meeting me, and I'm from New York. So here's like part of that in my story, but that is not the end all be all of who I am, because you're more than where you're from.
Yeah. Man, I'm thinking it's so interesting to have this sit down with you, and it was really important for me to make this happen, because you know, we have conversations like these all the time.
Absolutely.
All the time. But sometimes they're so casual that I learn a lot, but right now I feel like I'm learning a lot about you because you're speaking in a sense in which I know the viewer is getting to know Radamiz. So there's little nuances I'm even realizing now, which is, it's interesting for me to ponder, like, oh, that may be why Rad does this as well. So it's an interesting experience for me. But coming from a family of being the youngest of 4 brothers,
Yeah.
and just having my siblings be such an integral part of my life, for some reason, you know, when I was thinking about what I want to ask you today, just from knowing you and the relationship you have with your sister, I want to hear, I think it's an interesting take to hear from you how having, you know, just this one sibling in the household, directly in this household, how that impacted your upbringing and just your music in general. Because I see you guys, your brother and sister, you and your sister as a team in so many ways.
Yeah, me and my sister, since we were raised, we always seen it as the Rodriguez dynasty. Verbatim. Like, it's like, yo, we're working on the Rodriguez dynasty. Me and my sister have always felt shared the responsibility to put on, the actualization of grandeur. You know, we were raised in a bedroom, bro. You know what I'm saying? Like, most people do not know that, you know? So anybody who has done that knows how close that makes you to your siblings.
Yeah.
But especially a brother and sister, like, that shit is crazy.
Very different than even 2 brothers.
Yes,
Very
extremely,
different.
because there's a space, there's still a space, and there's like, you know, but for me and my sister, man, that's like my everything. That's my best friend. That's like my motivational coach. That's my biggest fan. That's my toughest critic. That's like, you know, she showed me how to like be a big brother, like what that responsibility that kind of carries, you know. I feel like if I impress my sister, then anybody can be impressed. But if I don't impress my sister, then there's a part of the world missing.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah,
like,
hugely. Yes, I resonate with that deeply.
Like,
man.
If I impress my sister, I could touch the world. If my sister's like, the worst, like the biggest trick God could play on me is have like a triple platinum single that my sister hates.
Yeah.
Because that would literally be like a slighted win.
That's like you're letting
because
us down.
If she can't say it, it doesn't matter as
Yeah.
much. It does. It just doesn't. You know what I'm saying? And growing up, you know, I mean, we shared a lot of conversations, man, and just knowledge. You know, she's way more well read than me. For like, she blows me out the water. Like, people always like, oh, what books are you reading, Rad? Like, yo, my sister blows me out the water. Like, as far as like just content and like, you know, if I read a Kurt Vonnegut book, then I put her on, but then she might buy the one I didn't have, so now she's sharing it with me, and you know, she's the one putting me on to like Ta-Nehisi Coates and. Man, I can't even start to mention, like, anybody who knows my sister, she's a bookworm. So then we exchange on the informational tip of like, if there's world views and politics, if there's music, obviously, like,
you guys discuss these
fashion,
things.
All of this. Like, when I first started rapping, my sister started rapping. Like, we used to be on like online battle forums together. Like, and she used to beat people. Like,
wow.
Yeah, she's such a like she's my younger sister, but she's such a like a role model.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And such a unique human being. And we intend to mean more than what our surroundings and our past may have dictated us to mean, you know. And man, she's doing it.
Yeah, big time. I wanted to give a shout out to her, man. And
shout out Rosanna, man. That's my heart.
Yeah, real talk, because I know
I'll kill somebody for her, for real. Like, I know in VIM, I'm like, I'll kill somebody for my sister, bro. Like,
no, that's real, man. And I see it, you know, because I don't know who I would be if it wasn't for my siblings. I mean, that's just honest truth. I don't know what I would like. I don't know what my interests would be. I don't know how I would have grown into who I am without having these siblings in the household with me. And even though, you know, it's just you and your sister growing up in the house, I see how much of an impact it had on you. And she's just a beautiful soul, man.
Yeah, man.
So,
and she's tough, man. Like,
Yeah.
she's tougher than me. She's like more beautiful than me. She's like, she's more talented. I honestly feel like she's an amazing writer. She just doesn't like tap into it.
she's
Just because
dope,
she's on
dope
some
artist,
money getting shit.
painter.
You know what I'm saying? She's
I've
on
seen
her
some of
money
her
getting shit,
paintings.
man. That's why she be getting her
Good.
bread and
It's
like,
necessary, man.
you know.
Yeah. Well, it brings me to this idea that your success is never just attributed to yourself, ever. And whether it's family, friends,
try to,
mentors,
think
a
so.
A lot of people also,
And people say,
in hip-hop,
even in spiritual, they like, yo, it's about you, and it's not.
I mean, who are you without others? Because we're all one.
All
at the end
of
the
your
day.
decisions impact everyone around you.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah. So speaking on that, you know, when you were in high school and you're starting to meet Mad Wiz, History, King Critical, you guys kind of start running with each other.
Yeah.
How important was it to you to not only chase this dream as a solitude figure, but, you know, chase it with a band of brothers?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, the band of us four and then the extended, like the multiple people that encompassed really happened after high school.
Yeah.
I think during high school, me and Wiz ran together and History and Critical ran together. And obviously, like, we all worked with each other throughout those years anyway. But thinking about it now, I don't know if I had any songs with Critical during high school.
Yeah.
I know with History, I used to like work with heavy, you know what I'm saying? But not for any other reason except for just you're in high school and you're running around. And if you didn't go to after school, if you didn't go to History's crib to record the same day, then y'all weren't on the same song. You know what I mean? That's just kind of studios were not the
logistical
same.
Stuff. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So, you know, History's crib was definitely one of those like get nice at History's cribs because he was one of the only places that had a studio we could record at that was like a little bit better than Audacity at Mad Wiz's crib or whatever the case may be. But yeah, I think at least the union between everybody as early as 9th or 10th grade was just, it felt good to sharpen your sword against somebody else's sword.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? And I feel like you felt yourself get more talented or you felt yourself bring something else out of your talent and your imagination. And it wasn't only what was displayed on wax, but it was also being able to talk to someone who was a fan like you and created music, but was also a fan, but also had visions of being big and also wanted to work to get there and wanted to do something right now. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So it was
That's
a mix.
huge at that
it's
time,
a mix,
man.
bro.
Yeah.
It's a lot. Because there will always be more dreamers than accomplishers. You know what I'm saying? Like the amount of people that just dream and definitely have the talent and definitely have the vision and definitely have like the perspective and whatever the case may be exists. There's a surplus of that in this world, but I feel like the people to enact that and then to surround yourself with like-minded individuals in that sense was rare. It was a scarcity, and I think it felt good to just know that person is crazy too, and this person is dope too. Yeah. So and our high school was small. It was tiny, so it was easy to like kind of sort through who made sense with your vibe, you know? Because there was a lot of crews, even though it was a 2-floor high school with like a couple hundred kids.
There's a bunch of different cliques making music.
A lot of cliques, for sure, man.
Yeah.
And you would see cliques pop up all the time. You know what I mean? But
so after high school and I guess during college, you went to NYU, correct? I saw you've released, a couple other things and music videos and projects at this point, maybe mixtapes. Yeah. But when you decided to work on Righteous, what you consider your debut project at like really introducing yourself
to the world.
Yes.
Yeah. All my other music, I mean, you make it with the intention because MySpace was popular, so it wasn't like it wasn't possible, but
But you knew you wanted to do something different with Righteous.
Let
me plant my flag. Yeah. And you spent how many years on Righteous?
4.
4 years. Yes. Wow. Yeah. Man, when I look back at that process, because I think I came in to the
Around the beginning of
process
that.
around,
Yeah.
which was so exciting for
Yeah.
me, because I'm making music with Blank.
Mm-hmm.
Shout out Blank, who's on Righteous as well. And making music with other homies. But, when I went to college and I met History, and History introduced me to you and Critical and Wiz, and then the whole Brooklyn universe opened up to me, being from Long Island, to get like a deep insight into your creative process, creating Righteous, working with Chris Conway and working in a big studio while I'm working on my project. That process helped sharpen my vision for what I was doing. And obviously, but I don't know if I've ever.
But you're on the project. You're on One Crown.
Yeah. And I feel like as much as it was your project, it was the team's project. Just from all the production that all the homies gave to it.
History's on it, Blank is on it, Dre Dollars is on it, Rudy Mills is on it, King Critical, Mad Wiz, History,
the whole squad.
Chris Watts, Kai, bro, crazy.
What a crazy time in our life, man.
OD.
Man, I just want you to tell us, man, what does Righteous mean to you? I know what it means to you to a certain extent, but throughout the process, the release, and after the release.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes, I don't really get to reflect on it, which is crazy because it's not like it happened that long ago.
Yeah,
but
not at all.
When you're a creator and you're trying to get it and just move on, like, shit feels like it's ages ago.
Yeah.
But the beginning of that process started with me just. A lot of these projects or a lot of moments start with hitting what feels like rock bottom. And I think that's why I'm always cautious about how you look at negative situations.
Yeah.
Or I'm always like, I tend to feel them, but not judge them.
Yes.
Or I tend to accept them as opposed to pray them away.
Yeah.
Right?
Or just sink too deep into the experience.
And then let that turn into
consume you.
Let that breed actions that are anti your progress. Because Righteous started, when, I had this mixtape, Longer Way Home. And I remember one of my, my best friends, Francisco, Cisco, like Francisco was like, man, like, I remember he was like away at college. He was like, man, you were so sad on that project. And I never made it with that in mind necessarily.
Yeah.
But I guess I was, and I was like sophomore year in college and I was just smoking too much and spending all my money terribly. I'm still got to get better at spending, but like, spending all my money, really wasting my money.
Yeah.
Like, not even to have fun. Like, I'll get a check from rugby and that shit will be gone, bro, by midnight. Like,
and you were living in the dorms.
And I was sleeping on
away
floors.
From home.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah, like I was sleeping on my friends' floors. That's the thing. I was always still a hustler, man. Like I always still hustle. But yeah, I just wasn't really making any real strides towards my career. And I was really focused on like NYU, and that was getting to be a lot because I came from a high school that I was my second graduating class, no AP classes, nothing, to NYU, like, and not huge. Like baby NYU, like real NYU, real. Like I'm in that bitch, you know what I'm saying? Like figuring this shit the fuck out. But at that time it felt like I wasn't, even when I was in college, I never intended to be like an academic. As soon as I got out of college, I'm gonna go and have this research job or this marketing gig. Like, nah, like I just seen it for what the experience was. So I just got an epiphany, man. I just got what you call an epiphany. Like I was in a dorm room and I had no friends accessible to me at the time. Like no girls that I was fucking with were answering the texts. Like, there was no parties to go to. Nobody was answering their phones, and nothing was interesting on the internet. And I just sat on my bed, and I was just like, Rad, what the fuck are you doing with your life? And I felt like this surge of energy from the top of my head to the bottom of my feet, like a Pokemon healing ball. And I always use that metaphor because that's literally the clearest way like I could think about it. And I was like, it's time to take this serious. And the first thing I did was, the year prior, I had a 1 hour session with my boy Julian, who's half of Goonie Tunes, and he recorded me at No Mystery Studios, but Chris wasn't there that night, and I recorded a song called Valentine's Day Hotel that was on The Longer Way Home. But I remember that was like the most serious thing that I've seen thus far, as far as like my own creation. And I was like, yo, Julian, I need to go back to the studio. I need to take my music serious. But I was very like determined on having him be my engineer. And he was like, man, nah, like Chris Conway there is like, he's the one who you need to talk to. And I was just like, I was kind of brushing it off, honestly, because I didn't know who the fuck this person was. Yeah. And then from then it was just history, man. Like that, I know I'm rambling a little bit.
No, it's totally
from that point, me taking my shit serious, I feel like everybody started taking this shit more serious.
Yes.
Because, you know, a year into that was like the Hot 97 Summer Jam.
Yeah.
Opening for Kendrick shit.
That was my first exposure to you.
Like Righteous was
your
not,
face on the flyer.
Yeah, Righteous was not. Righteous wouldn't have come out 3 years later. That was 1 year into the recording experience. 1 year into me taking it serious. And that was a whole other, you know, shit, you know what I'm saying? But I started like 2012 spring, and by like that January 2013, I was on some Hot 97 competition shit, and you know, spiral from there.
And I think you telling the story of
it's like the project wouldn't have been real if it didn't encompass all these people, because me going to the studio and me taking my shit serious, I feel like was bringing the best out of all my friends too, and and the people who I was meeting, you know what I mean, started becoming a very, like, we all were energizing each other off of the moves that we made. You know?
Yeah. Well, I think that was a critical story for you to tell regarding Julian bringing you to No Mystery and introducing you to Chris eventually, because whenever an artist finds a home base in a studio, at least from my perspective, that's when they become the most grounded and focused, when they have a dedicated place to work out of. And when I started running around with you and going to No Mystery and linking with Chris as well, although I was going to school for audio engineering and I was in music studios all the time, just seeing that group collaborative creation gave me so much fuel for myself. Like, oh, nah, this is what I want. Like, it's one of the reasons why I switched engineers halfway through the project, you know, with all the respect to the prior engineer, I realized I needed to lock in person. I need to be touching the faders. I need to be laughing with my engineer.
And just sharing the conversations, you know what I mean? Like gelling and the fact that your engineer, like your mixing engineer is really like your creative director of the sounds. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not like they're just making it sound good. Like they're producing. You know what I'm saying? They're producing the records for real too. Like if you have a great one, you know, at least like Chris is a great one. So like, yeah, there's so many creative decisions that they could make on your behalf that you would never do. Yeah. In a good way or a bad way. Yeah. You know what I mean? That you should be there for.
Yeah, for sure, man. Yeah, Righteous was a beautiful, beautiful journey that I just feel honored to have had some insight into. And I could see even
for the team.
Yeah, for sure. I could see even throughout the creative process of manifesting Righteous, throughout that process, I could see kind of where your mind was going, even for the future. I could see that there were certain things that you want to achieve on an album that you knew you'd be able to work on the next project. And that is what led you to Nothing Changes If Nothing Changes. And although, how long did you spend on the recent album?
Nothing changes, maybe something like that. I mean, I got the New York beat. I must have gotten it the same month, like the next month or something.
After Righteous dropped.
I may have gotten it that April. You know what I'm saying? Like a rough version of it, because I remember I had this song "Won't I" that I was listening to at my boy's wedding the week after, like when Righteous dropped the week after I was in Florida. So I already knew I was working on new music then. But then New York, I must have gotten like in May or something like that, like that summer. So like right away.
And it's interesting because although Nothing Changes took, about 2.5 years or so, it felt like throughout that process, your laser precision was just a little bit sharper of course, as you would expect as you grow as an artist, but just your vision of what you wanted to create and the feeling you wanted to instill within the album seemed to be pretty clear from the onset. And what would you say was the initial difference you wanted to make with Nothing Changes compared to Righteous?
Well, I mean, I know what Nothing Changes is now. But I'm trying to think like back then. I feel like when I started working on the music, it felt like, you know, when we were on tour already for like Righteous, like when me and IOD went on the Fran tour, and I remember SOBs that September, like playing New York, New York. I remember performing it.
Yeah.
I remember performing New York, New York before that, like just like random rooftop performances with like loaf music and shit and extra ketchup, and I was already playing New York, New York a bunch of times, and Righteous was made graduate like sophomore year of college and then working at Rugby, Denim and Supply, going into Polo, going into opening ceremony, transition, like, and then graduating from college to like not being in college.
Huge life changes during that time.
And figuring out what post-college life looks like and shaking off the dust of like, oh, if the job that I get out of college isn't my dream job, then I don't know what the fuck is gonna happen in my life and all that shit, you know? Where I feel like the initial stages of Nothing Changes was like, by the time I finally finished Righteous and it was out in the world and doing what it's doing, you know, I was on USA Today and we're getting a bunch of good looks. We opened for Nas off that shit, like whatever. But with this new album, it felt like, this feels like what the real world feels like.
Yes.
So what the fuck do you have to say to your own life, like through what you create, that is going to set you apart? Because now for real, there is nothing else to like fall back on. Like you only have what you create on and the merit that has and what you do with it. You know what I'm saying? And with that added responsibility, it felt like because you know, I listen to my own music too. So like with Righteous, I feel like the biggest blurb to say about it is this motherfucker has passion in his heart. But like, who knows me though?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Even on a song like Sumner, I'm not talking about Sumner. I'm just talking, I named it that. And obviously we shot the video there, but it was more so about the passion that comes from being at these places, from being at this place. You know what I'm saying? God talks to me a lot. It was just dope. And me and Wiz doing Death to Tennis and Power. It's like here's the passion in these kids. Like, nah, we're fucking here. You know what I mean? But it's
undeniable.
It's not like I'm letting you know who I am. I'm just letting you know I'm here.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And for the new album, you know, some of the first songs of Nothing Changes was 7 Digits and New York, New York and Knuckles, and obviously a bunch of songs that didn't make it, but like of the songs that made it. But like even just saying those 3, like those are like real joints. You know what I mean? Like records. That's like New York, New York is like descriptive, like you know, 7 Digits. I mean, that first verse is like what it is, like, you know. And Knuckles, same shit. It's like, yo, these are records that you could tell I'm just more willing to let you win. You know what I mean? And I felt like if I'm a throw another dart, I'm a let you know who I am with this one.
Yeah. And it just seemed like you were not more grounded than on Righteous, but a little bit more knowing of what you wanted to achieve. Yeah. And
I have finally released something.
Yeah.
And that was the other thing.
You understood yourself more.
Yeah, because you released it.
Yeah.
Most people are like inhibited by lack of completion to things. You You know what I mean? They're held back by not having put something out into the world and finally let it go.
Yeah.
So they're stuck looking at it forever. You know what I mean? Whether that just be an inkling of feeling in your soul. You know what I'm saying? So like Righteous finally being, I'm telling you all these things that were changing throughout, and I still have the same 11 songs. Like I'm still, and it's like I have more songs here and there, but for the most part, that was like what the fuck it was. You know what I mean? So it's like, damn, I've been fucking playing the same shit for like so long. I finally got a chance to even look where I was at in my life.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, that was huge. I felt after I dropped the 5th tape, I was like, oh, okay, I know what my boys have felt
like
when they release something.
Yeah, bro, you got something to finally just be like, all right, that's me here. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
exactly. Let me move on to something.
Yes.
But what's crazy to me is that I don't know if it was halfway. I would probably say about halfway through Nothing Changes is when you inked the deal with Payday.
Yeah, it was the end of 2017.
You had tons of records by the time you
when I played them the album, I had half the album basically.
Yeah, wow. So how was that transition? A lot of people, you know, I'm sure it varies, but a lot of people sign with a label and then begin working on a project.
Yeah.
You had your vision kind of already laid out for the most part. You had all these records already done, and then you get signed.
Yeah.
How is that transition of, oh, do I just continue doing what I do, or, oh, wow, now the stakes are higher. I got some money behind this. I got some budget behind this. Do I change the vision a bit, or do I just stay focused on the path I've been on regardless of being signed? Because sometimes you can see that gets to a lot of artists' heads, you know, and I think you did a great job navigating that transition. So speak on that a bit.
Well, I think, you know, one, it's not like I got $1 million non-refundable advance. You know what I'm saying? My money was super low on the advance tip. I think the biggest thing that we signed for, one, was partnership on some like, and having a whole other entity support your vision, but it was also not blaming money for not executing your dreams. Like I opened up that credit card line so that I can't say I didn't make all the videos I wanted. Like we about to drop our 6th video, probably by the time this shit drops.
No, definitely.
So like Benzo will be out. So that means we did VIM, New York, Save the Youth, Fake Gucci, Know My Name, Benzo.
Crazy.
6 music videos.
I was thinking about that last week. And I'm not talking about
no fucking, nothing wrong with it. I think it's dope to like, oh yeah, I'm just here.
Yeah, but no, real talk.
Like videos. You know what I'm saying? Yes. And it's not like I have 50,000 per video either. Like, you know what I'm saying? But feels good to like, oh, here's this. I'm not gonna put here's this, but here's this. Like, let's execute. Like, this is what we got, but like, let's make it work, you know? And I think for me, the biggest thing I just knew that off rip, that the biggest thing I was investing in was my artist development. It wasn't a celebratory feeling like you get a check and buy a crib and you don't have to work for 3 years because money is there. Like, that's not the kind of deal that I set up for. And even though we were, at that time, I was already talking to like majors and people were like, you know, talking just majors, and you already know that comes with bigger money and da-da-da. Like, I knew I didn't necessarily want to do that because I feel like I would have taken a check and lost my career. Where that happens to most people. Yeah. Whether they admit it, whether the public even notices or not. I feel like I do because I'm a student of the game. Yes. And I feel like I just have mad empathy. Like sometimes I just get depressed thinking about other artists. Not in a bad way, but I just feel for their situations and I hope that they're all right. You know what I mean? Because I know it's not easy and the world doesn't give a fuck about us, but the economic world. But But yeah, so I was just realistic about what I was signing up to in the first place. And I also knew that it was up to me still. Yes. You know, I wasn't in these situations. Like, people talk very black and white about labels, like signed or unsigned. Like, you know, like, I put in work, bro. Like, I'm not out here getting told what the fuck to do, where to show up, like, I'm trying to outwork everybody. And especially if you're a label, I'm trying to make y'all look lazy. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm trying to make everybody look lazy. Like I'm not, and if somebody's out working harder than me, now I got to try to, you know what I'm saying? Like, because I fuel off that. Like, it's like if you come with a win, like I'm like, all right, I gotta come through. You know what I'm saying? So I also knew that it was like, all right, here's an opportunity to work harder, right?
Yeah.
Because now you have more hands on your project and you have more hands involved with your vision, and you also have creative control. You also have creative control over what it is that you're doing, and it just felt like the stakes were higher and the platform was bigger, but I had more hands involved to execute what I wanted to do in the first place anyway. You know what I mean? And I feel, I don't like to put the work on somebody else.
Yeah. Wow. I think that speaks to just your character as not only an artist, but as a man, because you see a lot of people get signed, ink a deal, and kind of just lay back and think the machine's going to take care of everything.
Man, hell no.
And that's not the reality. And I feel like not an
car still needs you to put the foot on the pedal, bro. Doesn't matter how much that shit drives and the sound system is amazing and the direction
how well designed it is.
You have to get in that shit and hit start and go and tell it where to, like, you have to still decide what the fuck is going on. And all it is an amplifier for what you already are. It's like how they say, like, money doesn't change you, it just shows you who you are, just shows people who they are. Fame just amplifies everything about you times 10. It's the same shit with any of these situations. But I feel like especially with a label, more often than not, you know, because maybe I have the luxury of my work showing. Like maybe there are a lot of people out there, you know what I'm saying, bless them if that's their reality. But if they actually work hard and the label is actually with, like, holding them back. But in my honest to gut, like, honest to heart, like, sense, like 50% of the people out there that complain about labels actually don't work hard. Yeah, they just expected the label to do it for them. And honestly, I don't know, that's just the truth.
Yeah. Man, I mean, you're someone who has embodied I
like to take credit for my losses and my wins.
Yes.
You know?
Yes. And not only that, you've really taken it upon yourself to educate yourself when it comes to the music business. And you're probably the most well-versed that I know person within my circle of creatives and friends who have really, literally taken the time, hours and hours of studying, you know, percentages, breakdowns, other musicians' deals, also looking at who made mistakes in the game that you could learn from, you know, who made beautiful decisions.
And what mistakes I made and what great decisions I made.
Yeah, of course. Why do you think, or maybe not why, but how do you think an artist who wants to educate themselves on the music business in general, deals, labels, where do some people begin? Because I feel like a lot of artists, they feel like they need to pool all of their resources only into creating, that they don't have the time. I'm doing air quotes for those who are listening, but the time to, I don't have time to buy this textbook about the music business or look into percentages or how royalties are split or publishing and all this. Do you think it's important for every artist to do that? And if so, how do you think is a good starting point?
I believe it's important for every single artist to know as much about the music industry as your capacity allows. But what I think is more important than knowing about the industry is taking the time out to empower yourself with people who know more than you and have your best interests in mind. Like people skills and gut feeling skills. And I think even more than that, you know, because the seed, like, it's like the seed of knowledge to me is curiosity, right? And there's a certain level of humbleness you need to have to tell someone you don't know something, can you explain it to me?
Yes.
I was just on the phone with an artist a couple of weeks ago, and I'm just like, damn, you want to ask me so much more, but you have a perspective on us that you're just like holding back, but you just don't want to tell me, like, you don't got it, like you don't know, but and I'm trying to like tell them for them, but it's like, you know, but most of the time we are guarded by the idea that we're supposed to know everything and somehow success means intelligence. When sometimes the shit is just sheer luck. And sometimes it's just the right people, like the actual right people around you, because a lot of people always have people around them who help them with their careers, but sometimes those people are P. Diddy. You know what I mean? Like it just is what it is. Like,
but I think that's one of the biggest gems you just dropped, actually, that, you know, just having people around you who know more than you in certain fields, that alone will take some of the pressure off of saying, oh, I gotta go home and open this book and study. Just having a brother and or just sister ask. Or someone.
When I first got my deal, man, like I was hitting up mad people with it. You know what I'm saying? Like, yo, look at this. Yo, what do you think? Like, yo, is trying to set up meetings with people who like low key just left me on. I'm just like, damn, like, but whatever. But like, you know what I'm. But still, even then, like outreaching to other artists, like. Like, yo, can you look over this for me? I'm not familiar. I don't know what this looks like. Is this good to you? You know what I'm saying? Reaching out to other execs that I knew at other labels. Like, these are facts. You know what I'm saying? Reaching out to other execs at other labels. Like, yo, what do you think about this? Like my first proposal. You know what I'm saying? Like, does this look good to you? Yeah. You know, and I think that that's important. Yeah. You know what I mean? Hugely. I think that that's important, but. Like I said, the other thing that I think is important is just the willingness to have like communication. Like that was me with like a deal proposal in my hand and deciding to like go through with it. But I think in general is just like willingness to have communication. Like, and you never know who can be your educator, and you never know who has a gem that's ready to be dropped on you, because I'm sure that I could have a gem for somebody on one tip and they could have a money getting scheme or a gem for me on another. And I feel like I've always improved from that. And I've always tried to foster relationships with like artists or just people in the game outside of just tit for tat exchange. You know what I mean? Like I do a verse for you. You come out for my show, whatever the case. It's like me and LA have always been that way. Like Latasha, me and Oswin have always been that way. Like a couple of artists, man, that we've always like had a relationship where we just get on the phone sometimes and just chop it up about what the process is looking like for us. Yeah. And yeah, man, I feel like that's how I survive. Like,
I think you've done a fantastic job at forging long-term relationships.
And not on some corny shit either. No, like I'm not out here like, oh, looks like you have your stats in order. Like, can we get on the phone and link, bro? Like, no, like I'm talking like
genuine. Like
I'm sure there's a lot of motherfuckers who generally and genuinely just know people trying their best. Yeah. Like I'm just, and then if you fuck with them, they fuck with you. Like, just hit them like, yo, what's up? Like, yo, I think, yo, you thought about this? Or like, yo, I like what you did there. Like, you know what I'm saying? You'd be surprised who's willing to like have a conversation, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
I'm not telling you to fake the funk either, you know?
Yeah, not at all, man. I see.
But I don't know everything. I don't know the whole world.
You don't, but you know what you know.
Yeah, I know what I know. Like, cause even when I took music business classes when I was at NYU and all that shit, and one ear out the other, bro. You know what I'm saying? Like that shit was not like I was understanding some of it, but it's not until this is bigger than all of that. Like, you have to risk your life. You know what I mean? You got to put your life on the line. Meaning, you got to put your peace. You got to roll the dice with some peace. Mm-hmm. You got to roll the dice with like some uncertainty about your future. Yeah. Sometimes you got to roll the dice and know there's a window in the future if case this goes wrong, and not lose sight that if the road goes bad, know from the beginning you had to bet on yourself to make it out, because a lot of people pump negative outcomes in life in general. I'm talking about the music business in this setting, but in life in general, like a lot of people pump negative occurrences, surroundings, and apply that to why the detriment of like a situation or whatever. But there's a lot of people who make it out of their dark times.
Of course.
There are plenty of examples of people who made terrible business decisions, social decisions, creative decisions, and by nothing more than the sheer will of like their own determination, and I feel like a relationship with God and having the circle around you to like guide you and empower you when you feel down, that they can make a complete 180. You know what I'm saying? And and not only end up better than they thought they were, but also change the past.
Yes.
Also rewrite what happened.
Yes.
You know what I
Nothing
mean?
is too far gone whatsoever.
You can't, you know, what I said, there ain't enough pride to outweigh my dependence on God. Like, it's like they also, you can't go too far where a mistake can be undone. I don't believe that.
Yeah.
I believe you can undo mistakes because you can undo the weight that they have on your life. You can undo the final moment of impact that somebody has. You can undo the final impression you have on somebody's life. You can undo all those things, even if you can't take back the action, you know. So
well, that's where belief comes in.
But and I think business, especially the music business and the creative business in general, you know what I'm saying? I don't want anybody giving up. I hate that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I'm okay with if sometimes the creative spirit that is God in the form of, like, you know, a poem, whatever the case may be, is only a momentary thing.
Yeah.
I'm not out here like, oh, if you decided to rap when you were 11, you better keep going until you're 70.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not saying that, but you know what I'm saying? Like, don't let the economic world break you, man. Like, because the world needs to hear you rise from that.
Yes. Yeah, I agree completely, man. And I feel like you're in a unique position in your career to help inspire many others who are feeling many of the same things, but just not saying it. And I think your position is unique because you're willing to be vulnerable.
Yeah.
You're not willing to not say something because it's going to make you look, quote unquote, weak or unsure about yourself or your situation. And I know it's something you speak on and that we've spoken about together, and something I think on a lot of. There's just so many artists who you can see that they have a lot to share that would be of great benefit to not only their fans and not only to people in the music industry, but just people living life in general. And a lot simply don't, maybe because they don't want to open up in a certain way. But I feel like it's a blessing that you have this ability and willingness to share what you do know. You don't know everything, as you said. None of us do, but you're willing to share what you do know. And I think that's very special.
Well, yeah, I think the toughest part, and that's the thing, I used to really pump a lot of, like, I mean, I still believe it to a certain extent, but I used to really pump, like, yo, we need our, especially in New York MCs, like, you need your OGs who just, like, have been through it, you know what I'm saying? And still performing and still doing their thing, you know what I mean? Still pumping their art to, like, you know, drop a gem on somebody, like. But I realized a lot of them are still scarred by their mistakes, and maybe they haven't healed yet. Maybe they haven't come to terms with their life yet. Maybe they haven't really sat with God and went through the checklist of everything that is making them feel bad and wept the tears that they need to, and like, I'm ready.
Yeah.
Because one of the things that I try to do periodically, I can't say daily, weekly, whatever, but periodically, is address and assess where I'm at in my life, and assess how I feel about things, and assess situations, and assess my surroundings, and assess my relationships, and what my intended near future looks like, and what my intended far future looks like, and what I'm doing about it. You know what I'm saying? I could imagine like a lot of the people, sometimes we want to drop those gems, left a lot of money on the table that they didn't know, or, you know what I mean?
And
like,
that there's regret there.
Like a lot of regret. There's a lot of regret there. There's a lot of, because it's the same thing as the Instagram and social media is like, we are naturally inclined to promote the good things, the highlights of our lives, because nobody wants to go on Instagram and see you talking about how bad your day was today and then how good your day was the next. It's like, that shit is exhausting because people have their own lives and their own level of silence that they're maintaining on purpose. Like, they're not posting all the other days because life isn't that interesting at that point, or like the feelings that they're feeling aren't really worth sharing, or they haven't found a great way or a comical spin on how to flip it. And you know what I mean? Like, so for me, I pardon those people where I feel like I used to have like animosity to them. Not anybody specifically, but just in general. You know what I'm saying? Because maybe they fucked up and they still haven't accepted, forgiven themselves. You know what I'm saying? or somebody who forgot my name or
Yeah.
slighted my name in the past. Like maybe when I told you what I felt like telling you, or when whatever the issue was, maybe when I hit you up, your parent was sick.
Yeah, you never know.
Yeah, you know what I mean?
Simply,
Maybe your job was on the line when I was hitting you up about a blog, because I know now. I had a whole directory of fucking, I don't think anybody works.
Yeah.
I used to email 1,000 emails a song drop. Like maybe that person was actually, maybe it's not fuck blogs. Maybe that person was trying to hold on to their job.
Yeah.
It had nothing to do with my song with 100 plays that day. You know what I'm saying? So I've learned to like forgive the world, or more so like forgive these false enemies that I've had, and these experiences that I've had, and negative energy that I've built up. I feel like I'm doing it now, just even talking about it.
Yeah.
And in general, like I feel like that's why I speak. You know what I'm saying? Because I try to assess and I try to take the other person's life into consideration. And I know how often, man, like, and like a numerous amount of times where somebody speaking spoke for me. You know what I mean? So I try to channel the thing that is hard for me to put into words, because I know how many times somebody's done it for me.
Yeah, likewise, it's one of the biggest inspirations behind Masters of Ceremony.
Yeah.
Because I know that on this platform we can have discussions that can impact the lives directly of those who are listening.
Yeah.
And
especially if you fuck with me, like this is how you want to hear me talk. Like it makes sense.
Yeah, for sure, man. So what's next? You know, I know some of what's next. I mean, you still got some new music to play me, maybe afterwards. But
I'll play some new shit.
Yeah, for sure. What's the plan, man? 2020 right now. I know you're working on the next project.
Yeah,
but,
definitely working on this next project. How's it coming along?
Yeah,
I'm still trying to figure that out. I have a lot of music.
Yeah.
I feel like during Christmas,
you've been in good creation mode the past couple months. I've been making a lot
of shit, bro.
I know.
I'm sure it makes more sense than I think it does right now. My big thing is always like, I know that this next one isn't a nothing changes for sure. It's like, if you thought you were gonna get like Radamiz and Here's My Diary Part 2, like that's not, you know what I mean? Like that's just not what this next project is. I'm learning it. I know it's real though, because the majority of it was made in the paperwork and release prepping of Nothing Changes. So it's like I was already making music separate from this last body of work.
Yes.
So that makes me feel good. But I'm definitely taking more of I feel like the focus is more on the feeling of the songs as opposed to the lyrical cohesiveness the music has. I feel like it's more so, I want this body. And I guess me and you spoke about that earlier in the process when I only had like 2-3 songs. I have mad songs now to play. But I remember the first understanding that I had was like, I want it to feel like a thing. I want this one project to feel like a cohesive thing. Like, yo, that's this album. So like, it may be the Baduism for an Erykah Badu fan. Like, you know what I mean? I mean, hopefully it's as dope as that. I'm not gonna not say. Yeah. But you know what I mean
Of
though.
Course,
like, if you're saying you playing Baduism by Erykah Badu, that's like specifically that.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And I think that that's just dope for my discography to have, because I feel like Righteous and Nothing Changes, even though they're cohesive in their own ways, Nothing Changes is like, Righteous is cohesive and it's like visions of grandeur and passion, and Nothing Changes is cohesive of the storytelling and like the autobiography and the narrative. I want something to be cohesive in a sound way, like more so than the other projects. I feel.
Beautiful, man.
So focused on feeling, but then we still rolling out this album. Like I don't believe an album rollout ever stops.
Yeah.
That's one of my...
Yeah, that's something you've continually reiterated to me, for sure.
I don't believe, especially not an album like a Nothing Changes, like, I don't believe that shit ever stops. So I feel like we're going to keep pumping it. Like, that's the thing, like, Righteous hasn't stopped coming out, because what happens when all the footage from that gets unearthed, and now it's like this recontextualization of music and creation that has to be taken into consideration, where the internet makes it feel like there's so much, so there's not enough people with attention spans to focus on it. And in part that is true, but stop underestimating life.
Yes, and not to cut you off, one of the biggest gems you ever dropped to me was how many of your favorite albums did you listen to on the first day it came out? Or the first week, first month, first year?
Always say that because it's true.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Even albums present day. Like there's albums that came out 2, 3, 4, 5 years ago that we probably still haven't tapped in and like really like just sat there and bumped it, and it could be some of our favorites.
Yeah, there's some albums that I've been listening to the past 2 weeks that came out in the early 2000s that I can say maybe are in my top 20 favorite albums of all time. Like crazy,
you know what I mean?
Like came out 20 years ago.
So I think it's up to like our responsibility, and I'm gonna just speak for myself in this case, but I believe but like my responsibility and my showing of affection to like my creations are to keep living and keep putting out and keep being in the world and keep expanding what encompasses the creative world and the expression of Radamiz, because that raises the significance of everything else. You know, it's like us looking at Contact High, like the book. Like, what if Biggie never did anything after his first freestyle?
Yeah.
Like, that photo shoot would have meant nothing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? What if Nas never dropped Illmatic?
Yeah.
The photo wouldn't have mattered that Nas is next to Pac. It would have just been Pac. So, like, you know, it's like our continuation. It's like Live, Love, ASAP. Like, if it ends on ASAP Rocky, like, what if that was his highlight?
Yeah.
That would not be at the end of the book. It wouldn't have been included, but you kept going. So now the past means more. It's the same thing. We change our past and our history all the time. And I'm a firm believer in that. Like, so just keep creating, you know what I mean? But like, we're going to keep rolling out. Nothing changes. You know, we got the book dropping. I'm going to talk about it because we got the book dropping, which is gonna be like crazy. I'm waiting for like the quote any day now, but it's submitted. You know
Beautiful.
what I'm saying? The book, the accompanying.
It's amazing what I've seen so far, man.
Oh man, I can show you the PDF.
It's one of a kind.
Yeah,
I mean, the people
sure.
are gonna see it, man, when it's out and ready.
But like we got the book dropping, we got this next project dropping, and
you got the Times Square ad.
We got the Times Square ad popping right now. It's crazy on 42nd Street.
What a beautiful experience.
We got some films coming. You know what I'm saying? We got some films coming.
We got a lot coming, man.
And I believe. I'm also in a place. I think because I'm talking to you, so I could just chill. I don't care.
Of course.
Especially like being sat on my ass for like the last 2 days just because of the cold just fucked me up.
Yeah.
I'm also in a place right now where I'm just reevaluating the future, and it feels like a nothing changes if nothing changes for real. Like, so I'm on I've already started changing a lot. You know what I mean? As far as like, do I want that to be part of my future, or like, man, I don't know. I feel like I'm cleaning my slate, and it's not. Depression is like the immature word. It's more so like clean slate. Like it feels like nothingness. Like there's a nothingness that I'm building again. It's like the soil when it's not fertile to grow anything.
In meditation, they call it emptying yourself in Buddhism.
And that's what I feel like I'm doing right now. Like I'm just emptying myself of like my identity, my creative identity, my perspective on hip hop, my perspective on being an artist, and refining my future. Because you know the best part about becoming older and celebrating another birthday and another year of life is that your preferences get more specific. And I always thought that was so powerful. Such a great, when you dream when you're 11, 12, you have no grasp on, like, everything is possible in life, but you have no grasp on just like, adult responsibilities and having a girl and having to pay your phone bill. And sometimes all your bills come at once. And sometimes the money's coming in crazy. And sometimes, oh, damn, like, when's the next check coming? Like, you don't think about the process it takes to finish and release something, like all of that. You know what I mean? So I feel like I'm at a place right now where I'm just like real life is like setting in, where I'm like emptying myself and creating and becoming more specific about what I want my future to look like, as a MC, as a creator on like multiple levels, but just more importantly as like a human being, and like and making sure my conversations with God are like more specific and just better, you know?
Yeah. That's beautiful to hear, brother.
Crazy.
Man, I'm looking forward to see what's coming from you in the future.
I hope it's good.
And just want to wrap up with some short questions. You can kind of run through them quickly if you like. I want to spread some love, you know. Shout out to my homegirl, Justina Love. She has a segment called Spread Love on the Big Bang Show we do. But I want to spread some love right now. I want you to shout out 2 or 3 people, creatives that you currently are supporting and interested in personally. It could be a rapper, it could be an artist, it could be whoever.
Damn, it's crazy. I don't know if I'm supporting anybody like that. Like,
well, don't gotta. You could be supporting just by listening. You know,
Joe Rogan.
Okay.
I feel like
I wasn't expecting that, but okay.
I feel like I've been tapping into like like Joe Rogan conversations. Yeah, for sure. I just,
one of my biggest inspirations in doing this.
Yeah, me show love to Joe Rogan, bro. Yeah. I feel like I'm understanding his platform much better. You know what I'm saying? Just like
my man is on
unfiltered conversation,
almost 1,400 episodes.
Yeah, nah, that's insane.
Come
bro.
on, man.
And I feel and his style is so conversational. You know what I'm? And obviously it's a conversation because it's a podcast. But I mean, like, the big themes will get broken down to just like a homie topping it up. So it's like I understood Elon Musk and I understood like what the fuck they're talking about. Like I get how like we're basically cyborgs now and all that shit. Like you know what I mean? Through Joe Rogan.
You know he has the biggest media platform on the planet.
Who?
Joe Rogan.
Nah.
Yeah, his views are crazy.
For real?
Like yeah, if someone goes on Joe Rogan, they're gonna be seen more than if they go on CNN or MSNBC.
Wow, that's amazing.
Or like really. I mean, you could look into the numbers.
Wow.
I mean,
that's
it's
a
crazy.
blessing.
Yeah.
Shout out to Joe Rogan, bro.
Yeah, word up.
Gotta meet you soon.
You got another one for us?
Yeah, Will Smith. Yes. Definitely Will Smith. Yep. I feel like Will Smith is just, I gotta show love to him, man. I feel like he's one of my life inspirations, meaning I feel like he has the sensibilities of vulnerability and aging and just being aware of constant change and challenge and all of that has inspired me throughout the years to just continuously break out of my own box. You know what I'm saying? And become who it is that I gotta be. And
that's good right there.
And
man.
And The Office, the show The Office.
Okay.
Yeah, I feel like I'm gonna show love to The
Radamiz came through with the craziest inspirations just now.
Yeah, I gotta shout out
Joe
The Office.
Rogan, Will Smith, and The Office.
Yeah,
that's
The
fire,
Office
man.
is a really good show, man. I feel like me and my girl watch it all the time.
Yeah, I'm rewatching The Wire right now.
I gotta watch it. I never watched it.
Oh man, I hope the people in the comments go crazy right now because you gotta watch The Wire.
I will.
Okay, what is something that you would consider a ceremony in your everyday life, or something you do every day to really either inspire you, ground you, self-care, a ritual, something
Simple.
that you try to do?
I just thank God that I'm alive.
Every day.
I try to do it every day. I try to do it when I wake up. Sometimes I don't remember until I fall asleep, but until I'm about to go to sleep. But I do it every single day. I like thank you God for being alive. I'm always like thank you for my parents, thank you for my girl, thank you for my friends, thank you for my career, thank you for my blessings, thank you for my opportunities, thank you for my creativity, thank you for my passion, thank you for the things that aren't going well. You know, show me what it is that I have to do. Show me the decisions. Show me what my next phase of my life is. Give me power. Give me enthusiasm. Like I do that basically every single day.
So
like kind
simple,
of like what I was saying just now.
Yeah, so simple but so effective and profound.
I obviously sometimes I get more specific.
Yeah,
and that's what I mean by learning to get more specific. Like yo, this specific situation is in the hands. Like is in my hands. Like settle me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I put my life in your hands.
Yeah,
stuff like that. But yeah, every single day, at least thank you for waking me up. Thank you for life.
And the power of being specific is powerful and important, because I had an elder once teach me that if you pray, yes, it's good to, speak generally, of course, good health for my parents, et cetera, but to pray a focused arrow, as this elder taught me, is extremely effective, because you're telling spirit, you're telling God precisely, this is what's going on. This is what's important to me. This is what is on the highest priority in my life in this moment. So to become more specific, I think is a mature way of praying, and also being aware and honest with yourself of, okay, let's get down to business. What do I really need to focus on in life? So that's beautiful, man.
Inspire.
Okay, last, what is an area of your life that you're trying to master right now?
I think we just said it.
Yeah.
If I say something else, I've been well, one is like I haven't drank whole milk in like 2%
Wow.
milk in like
Okay.
months.
So you slowing down on dairy.
Yeah,
That's
months,
huge, man.
months. Like it's
Congrats.
been a long. The most I do is like half and half now, but I don't even want to do half and half. Like I've been doing like if you don't have almond milk or something, like you gotta. I'm gonna just drink my coffee black. But I've been I just have this other routine that I'll tell you about later. That I recently like. Because I realized the importance of sacrifices. Like I spoke, like it's not, sacrifices don't mean that there's a finite amount in this world and you have to leverage one to get another. And Jordan Peterson's like breakdown of the Bible really like helped
powerful series.
change my perspective on like the Bible and just like what certain stories were speaking to. You know, I just got a Bible for Christmas too. Like,
yeah. Oh yeah, you told me.
But not because of Jordan Peterson, but like I guess maybe in a way because I was, but nonetheless.
Yeah.
But he was just talking about like sacrifices is essential in life, like where there is a finite amount of what you can do today.
Yes.
And there's a finite amount of what you can exert energy on today, and part of human evolution is learning tomorrow you will need food too. So let's not eat it all today, and
of course,
let's not dispose of the animal because one day it'll get cold. So we're gonna need this fur, and I think that there's a certain level of like, you know, on in the evolution of human being, we learn to think about tomorrow, and we learn to think about the future, and we learn to think about the near future or the distant future, and even when they don't correlate what you're sacrificing to what it is that you're working to attain, the fact that your intention is planted in that having a specific result in this makes it a fact, and disciplines you in a certain level, because now you don't need instant gratification for your decisions. You have the discipline and the respect for your full life to hold out for what's going to make you most happy, you know? And in making my music and the way I release it, you know, it's the same thing. Like I try to prioritize to complete from my 1 to 10, my 1 to 3 more than my 4 to 10, because my 1 to 3 are actually the ones that bring me the most joy. So I've been,
Beautiful. Man, Radamiz.
Yo,
thank you, my brother.
Fifth God, appreciate you, man. This is a great name too. I told you, Masters of Ceremony.
Thank you, man. It came very naturally, and I've explained it a bit already, but I'll continue to, you know, it's like the same thing with the name Fifth God. I mean, it kind of just came without much meaning, and over the years, it just,
it makes so much sense.
Oh my gosh, it compounded and compounded. Bro. So thank you, man.
I wish you success. I'm going to bless this podcast. I'm going to bless this route. And you know what I mean? I want to give you blessings that this opens up chapters in your life that you didn't even think about in a positive way, in a pure way, and that you're able to help not only the guests that you bring onto the show, but listeners that don't comment on YouTube, don't DM you, don't tell you in person, just people who this Thursday evening or this Sunday afternoon or whatever the case may be, they stumbled upon part of your conversations and it helped them, you know what I'm saying? So bless them and make your money, bro. You know what I mean?
Thank you, brother. Blessings to you as well.
My G.
Love. Peace.